Leaves of 3, let it be. Vines that are hairy, be wary. People go into the woods all the time with this exact rhyme in mind and think, okay, I got poison ivy down. I know exactly what it looks like. That is some really good advice for being on the trail and avoiding a nasty rash, but there's a few other tips you might want to learn if you don't want to be super paranoid about every single three-leafed plant. So I'm going to try to help show you some of that. There are a lot of misconceptions about poison ivy. One is that it has to be red. This is poison ivy and it is green. This is young poison ivy and it is in fact red. It also turns yellow in the fall, just to confuse you even more. Of course, we all know these little three-leaf plants are clover and they're totally fine, but what I'm going to do is show you some more plants because I feel the best way to learn what poison ivy looks like is to see what it's not. For instance, this is a red shiny vine, but obviously not poison ivy because it's missing leaves of 3 and the vine isn't hairy. Now, is this poison ivy? Well, no. See, poison ivy usually has smooth edges with only a few random notches, and this has serrated edges. There's poison ivy. Along the same lines, you might notice this isn't poison ivy either. So from now on, I'm going to try to give you some time to figure it out for yourself, because, you know, edumacation. Not poison ivy. It's a hairy vine and has leaves of 3, but the leaves have serrated edges, not poison ivy. Berry bush. This one's really tough. Smooth leaves of 3. I'd watch out for this one, especially because when you look at the trunk of the tree, you can see hairy vines. Ah! Poison ivy. Poison ivy. Poison ivy. Virginia creeper. Fun fact, some people are just as allergic to Virginia creeper as they are to poison ivy. Virginia creeper grows very similarly to poison ivy across the ground or along vines on trees, but it has 5 leaves instead of 3. This hairy vine is poison ivy, and it can get you in the summer or the winter. A lot of vines here, but no poison ivy. That big one's a grapevine. Yep, nope, 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 not touching that. All poison ivy. Berry bush. Poison ivy. Poison ivy. Not poison ivy. Not poison ivy, another berry bush. Not poison ivy, too many leaves and serrated edges. Virginia creeper. No idea what it is, but it's not poison ivy. Now that's poison ivy. And that's not all. This tree is covered with the stuff, and it makes a sort of canopy of poison ivy at the top. But of course, poison ivy never is itself a tree, it always just grows off of other trees. This one is a sassafras tree. You can see, look, the tree leaves are shaped like dinosaur feet and mittens. Not poison ivy. Poison ivy. Definitely poison ivy. Not poison ivy, it has extra leaves instead of coming straight off of the vine. Lots of poison ivy. Surprise! Virginia Creeper. Poison ivy. Little vines are harder to tell. Poison ivy. Not poison ivy, wild strawberries. Not poison ivy, too weird looking. This one's tricky, and it's why it's important to remember that the third leaf in poison ivy sticks out of the middle a little bit before becoming a leaf. It has a longer petiole. This is Jack in the Pulpit, which looks pretty much exactly like poison ivy, except smoother edges, and all the leaves come out of the center right away. It's also not a vine, it's a really cool wildflower. And somebody's photobombing this shot right here. Poison ivy on a tulip poplar tree. Berry bush. Not ready to be picked yet. Not a poison ivy vine. Also not poison ivy. Pretty sure this is Japanese bittersweet. In any case, they're not poison ivy vines. Behold, poison ivy. Not poison ivy. A grapevine and something else. Jack in the Pulpit. Poison ivy doesn't have thorns. Wild strawberry plants. Poison ivy. Virginia creeper. More Jack in the Pulpit. This one has fruit. This one's a tree. This one's an ash tree, I think. I did not give you enough context for that. But if you are ever worried about it, just remember the leaves behind it help. Plus, you can always look back on the twig, and if it leads to a tree instead of a vine, you've got yourself an ash. Or an ash leaf maple. Sometimes it's hard to tell the difference.